Today we're going to be showing you how to winterize a boat. This is one of those DIY jobs that not very many people realize they can do. If you're able to change the oil in your car, you're able to do this, this simple DIY job here as well. But first, if you're new to the channel, at the end of the video, if this information is useful, please give me the thumbs up. If you're interested in more content around, maintenance on these, outboard motors or, boats, in general, please hit that subscribe. So what are the tools, and fluids, that you need to perform this job? The first thing is, you need to have some type of oil, so if it's one of these Optimaxes, you can very easily put some of that DFI oil in there, or Quicksilver makes this storage, seal. That's essentially going to be used to spray into, the cylinder walls when you remove the spark plugs. You're also going to need some gear lube, specific to, the motor that you're doing there. You're going to need some type of, Sta-Bil or some of these Tektron marine fuel stabilizers. You're also going to need some marine lubricant. I like this 24C over here. As far as tools, you're going to just need a simple ratchet, spark plug remover, flathead screwdriver, then one of these specialized Mercury tools that you can easily get. I'll post a link there below to remove the fuel filter. You're also going to need a grease gun, obviously for this 24C. That will be used to lubricate any of your, joints that you have within the motor. And then last but not least, is something to drain the gear oil in. One of these contraptions here, and I'll post a link below. These can be at any local AutoZone, Advance, etc. there. This essentially just goes into the bottom of that container, connects on there, and it allows you to pump that gear lube up into the motor there. So that is required as well. So what we're working on here today is a Nitro 482 bass boat, and what we have here is a Mercury Optimax. This is a 2006 115. Essentially, this process is the same for all of the horsepower ratings of the Optimax and various other DFI motors out there. But the first thing you want to do is flip this thing in the back there. Then you're going to lift up on the front. And you're going to pop that off there. So step one, and this could be arguably the most important step, remove all of the water that's in here. So what you're going to want to do for that is simply just tilt the motor all the way down. So I already did this, so I don't have any water coming out, but if you're doing this for the first time, you tilt that all the way down, you're going to see water running out of the bottom of your gear case. You're also going to want to flip it all the way up, and when you're doing it all the way up, you're going to want to pay attention to this little hose in here. Essentially, if you're not familiar with this is, this allows you to flush your motor out at home. So if you're in a saltwater environment and you got salt in there, you don't want salt corroding things, you can hook up a garden hose to this and simply let the water run through, turn the motor on, and flush it out. So, obviously this is going to trap water. So you're going to want to depress this thing inside here and also flip the motor or trim the motor all the way up. Now, I already did this, and that's why there's no water coming out of there, but if you're doing this for the first time, you're going to see water running out of this thing when you depress that. So, step one, remove all the water, because obviously in a cold environment, you have water inside this motor, it freezes, you're going to have a big problem, when you get your boat out in the springs. All right, for step two, we're going to be focusing on the fuel system, so that's what this is here. This is the, obviously the fuel filter here, and this is kind of a water separator here. So obviously there's some attention here that we need to make sure we do, before we store it as well. So first thing, take this protective cover off up front. That simply just pulls straight out. After you have that off, here's where this specialty tool comes into play that I was referring to earlier there. Essentially, that allows you to go in, there like that, and that allows you to easily get that fuel filter out. Now obviously you could rig something up with a screwdriver, and I'm sure there's 1,000 different ways to get that off, but for the price of this little tool, and especially if you're going to do this every year yourself, that thing is well worth the investment. So go ahead and unthread that off of there. All right, so then after you get that off there, you know, just kind of push that little hose back there, and you'll be able to, you know, eventually get it out. So obviously have some towels handy because you're going to be leaking gasoline all over the place. All right, so now we have the fuel filter out. You know, the next step is we're going to be loosening these two things here, and we're going to be draining these. Now what this is, you know, obviously, you know, there's fuel in here, and this is your water separator. So essentially is allowing anything that's water, it does not want it to go through the motor, so it collects in this. So obviously that's another thing we do not want, you know, in your motor when you're getting ready to store it. So to do this, you know, simply a flathead screwdriver here. I actually like this little guy here. This is a GEARWRENCH, a little tool. You know, I'll post a link before. This thing came in very handy because obviously, you know, if you don't have a short screwdriver, you know, you're gonna have some problems there. So this little thing's come in handy over the years. All right, so after you have that loosened up, you're simply gonna take some type of container to store it in. You know, in my case, you know, just an old, you know, container of some Optimax oil there. You're simply going to take that hose in there and drain it out in there. So after that's draining for a little bit, you'll hear it stop. You know, go ahead and pull it back out. Put that back over there on the other side. This time you can go ahead and just tighten up that nut. Now don't over tighten these because, you know, end up stripping something out there. So now just repeat, you know, that process on the other side. Then similar, you know, just take that case there, or take that hose and drain that out. All right, so once that's done, you can go ahead and connect that hose. You know, again, any gasoline, you know, you have rolling around there, you know, make sure you use some towels, you know, get that wiped off there. Then we'll go ahead and tighten that nut back up as well. All right, so we got both of those drained, you know, here. Sometimes you can actually see down in here there might be some little bit of debris that gets stuck. I had that years ago. I haven't saw it in a while. You might want to just get that out if you see anything down in there that looks like it's not, you know, fuel related there. But then the next thing, you know, obviously get a new fuel filter. You know, you can get those, you know, I'll post a link here below. You know, you can get those at various different places. Make sure you're getting the right one. You know, because, you know, obviously you don't want to put the wrong one in here. But what Mercury kind of recommends now is you do kind of a mixture of Swivel and some of their fuel preservative things that you're going to put in here, and you're going to run the motor. I've done that before, and other years I haven't. So, you know, what I kind of prefer instead of that method is simply putting in some Swivel, or, you know, some of the Mercury Tectron I've used in the past. Put it in your boat, you know, 1 or 2 times before you know, you're getting ready to store it. You know, run it a little bit. Obviously that Swivel is going to be throughout your entire system. I don't think that step is necessary. However, you know, I'll show you a picture of kind of Mercury's description of what they recommend you do. But like I said, I've done both methods, and I've had no problems with this motor in the last 12 years. All right, so now that we have that taken care of, and you have your new you know, fuel filter, you know, go ahead and hand thread that in there to begin with, so you make sure you're not cross threading anything. Then when you get it kind of started there, you know, get your tool out again, and then go ahead and tighten that back up. All right, so once we got that, you know, tightened, you know, fuel system, you know, you're all good there. All right, so the next step is now we're going to be removing the spark plugs, and we're going to be putting a little bit of oil, you know, in those cylinder walls in order to kind of protect from, you know, rust. So first thing, you know, obviously on this 1.5, we have the 1 cylinder, 2, then the 3rd down there. It's pretty straightforward. 1, 2, 3, you know, in that line up from these over here. I'm going to connect them. If you have multiple cylinders, make sure you're taking a note or take a picture of which ones go to which cylinder. You obviously do not want to cross those because you know, your motor won't run right. So just simply pull those off. Alright, so after we get those off, you know, then there's where you're going to need your spark plug remover. You know, I actually like these GEARWRENCH you know, ones. You know, I'll post a link here below. I've used these on a lot of different vehicles. They just got a flex head, so depending on how you're in here, you know, it's a lot easier to remove the spark plugs. And then the last one here is, this is a good example of, you know, with this extra, you know, pivot here, it makes it a lot easier to get that off. Alright, so now that we got all of the spark plugs out of there, the next step is to either use some of this storage seal that Mercury makes, or, you know, obviously you can use some DFI oil. You're essentially just going to want to spray some oil in there, in each one of these, you know, these cylinder holes here. Alright, so now that we have the oil in each one of those cylinders there, we want to get a breaker bar and a socket. In my case, it's just simply a 24mm socket. You're going to want to rotate that motor around, and what that's doing is it's moving those pistons up and down, and that's kind of moving all that oil that you put in there around there, so it coats, you know, the cylinder wall. So you don't have to get too carried away with this. You know, do it a few times there, and that should be good. One note on this, make sure you're turning this the correct way. You know, what I've done years ago is I put a little mark up here as far as which way the motor turns, so every year when I do this, I remember which way I need to rotate that. Alright, so the next step, we're going to be draining the gear lube, you know, out of here. And I'll be honest, this is my least favorite out of all of them because this stuff is nasty. You know, if you never mess with any gear, you know, oil out there, you're probably going to want some gloves and any type of shop towels. So make sure the first thing, you know, make sure the motor's level here, kind of at an operating level. There's simply a drain plug on the bottom here. You go down there, flathead screwdriver, take that out, come over here and take both the vent and the oil level plugs out as well. Set those aside, let that drain out. After that's been draining, you know, everything's kind of drained out of there. The next step is you're going to want to get you know, obviously your gear lube that you're going to be putting in there, you know, get that out. And then this is where you're going to need, you know, this kind of contraption here that I talked about earlier there. Essentially this right here is going to get screwed into the bottom of the motor. You know, I'll post a link, you know, below where you can get one of them. But as far as this here, this is just something that this gear lube pump, you can get at any standard auto parts store. You know, so what you do, you simply put this in here like this, screw it on there like that, and now you're all ready to go. So what you're going to be doing here is you're going to thread that on there on the fill. Now be clear here. You know, you put the gear lube on the bottom. I've seen people come up here and think you got to put it on the top. No, that is not correct. You put it on the bottom here, and you simply start pumping. Eventually, on your two plugs up here, you're going to start seeing oil come out of this front vent. At that time, wipe that clean, install your front vent back in there. Then you're going to continually pump until it comes out the top one over here. When that one comes out of there, that's when you're done. Simply clean that up, thread that screw in there, pull this out. Then once that's out, obviously you're going to want to thread that other nut back in there. Then you're done. All right, the last step that we have here, we need to go around and we need to lubricate, all of the joints that are, is allowing this motor to pivot. What I like is, I like this Mercury lubricant, this 24C. This stuff's been good, but essentially you're really just looking for some type of marine lubricant. Put it in one of these, grease guns, and then you're gonna go around. You can see right there. There's one. You're gonna put some there. There's another one right there, and just kind of on your motor, you could have different, ones. Just go around the motor, find any of the ones that you see on there. Put a little bit of grease in there. And also don't forget to, lubricate, the steering over here mechanism. So essentially that's allowing that motor to pivot back and forth. All you need to do on this one, put a little, grease on your hand, go in there and run it across that area in there. Move your motor back and forth a few times and you'll clearly see that it'll start freeing up there, as well. So that's another important one. And that'll be the difference between, your motor's really hard to turn when you're on the water, hey, and it's turning pretty freely. So don't forget that one. All right, well, hopefully that information was useful. If it was, please give me the thumbs up. If you're interested in more content like this, please hit that subscribe button, and it really helps the channel. We have a lot more maintenance, items coming up on this that we'll do to kind of give you a walkthrough of how you can easily do those maintenance, items yourself and save yourself hundreds of dollars. Also, if you're interested in, some of the electronics around some of these motors, this is a SmartCraft scanner. This is similar to the OBD, scanners they have in your cars to read codes and figure out diagnostic things. I'm going to give you a kind of quick walkthrough of this here, as well. If you're going to get into any DIY repairs on a boat, or if you have, happen to have a motor that's having issues currently, you need one of these to help you diagnose what the issue is. So I'll give you a quick walkthrough on why I think this is a great investment as well. But again, thanks for watching, and hopefully this was useful.